What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, a few days ago, I made a video with the guy, what's his name? Alfonso Ribeiro, something like that. The guy Carlton from Fresh Prince, right? And Carlton was saying that, he felt like LeBron James ruined the game of basketball, right? Now, I don't know if I would go that far as to say he ruined basketball, but I do think that LeBron James ruined his own legacy, right? By taking shortcuts, cherry picking, and trying to uh basically be, set himself up to be on the best team. I think that really hurt his legacy. As far as destroying the game of basketball, I don't think he did that, right? But I do think um I do think that basketball is making a comeback because I like these young guys that are playing now that are coming into the league and the guys who are already here, like the Spurs and OKC and the Knicks and stuff like that. So I like it's some good talent on these NBA teams, right? So I don't think LeBron James ruined the game, but I didn't like the fact that LeBron James, some of the stuff he did for us, like moving around from team to team, flopping, load management. When like coming up, when I was coming up watching basketball, those guys, they never miss games. I don't, even I don't care like if when I remember the year that Michael Jordan and Chicago Bulls, I don't remember what year it was, but they was on a run and they came to, they went to Washington to play. I think I don't know if they was the Wizards then or they were the Bullets, right? But they came to Washington. Washington really wasn't all that good. But no matter where Michael Jordan went, he didn't. They didn't rest him for like if you went to a Wizard game and they was playing the Chicago Bulls or you went to the Bullets. I think it was the Bullets back then. So if you went to a Bullets game and they was playing the Chicago Bulls, Mike played. Mike played hard. It wasn't, they didn't sit Mike out or take Mike, Mike played. Same thing with Magic, same thing with Bird. They didn't do that, and so fans just became accustomed to seeing their guys play no matter who the competition was. If they were going to blow you out by 30 points, they was going to blow you out with Mike in there. They weren't going to, if they thought they could beat you without Mike, it didn't matter. They was going to drag you with Mike. And so it wasn't like that with LeBron James, like load management and all this other stuff, man. When you had people spend their hard-earned money to go see LeBron James, or and he didn't play, it wasn't good for the league. So now, and that's what fans like Carlton Banks. That's what fans like Carlton Banks and myself, that's what we're talking about, right? And so Richard Jefferson came on, I guess his podcast, and he tried to call himself teaching Carlton Banks something about basketball when the whole time I'm listening to Richard Jefferson talk, and it's like, you don't get it. It's not that Carlton Banks don't get it. You don't get it. You're not listening to the fans, right? So let me see. The basketball show also reacted to this. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the audio from the basketball show, but I am gonna come back and give some of my input along the way. But so here we go.
And we got Richard Jefferson. We got Channing Frye, two ex teammates of LeBron. What could we expect on the road tripping podcast ran by LeBron's, ex teammates? It's just ridiculous. They're trying to come up with every possible excuse to counter people calling out the BS that LeBron James has done over his entire career. They're trying to come up with examples from like 2003 to counteract people calling out LeBron James for teaming up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and all that other crap. It's ridiculous at this point. But what do you expect? They're LeBron's teammates. They're always gonna cover his ass because they need to still have the connection with him. They're not gonna cover his ass. He's gonna delete their number. Let's talk about it.
Now let me just say this, right? As far as like these Richard Jefferson and Shannon Fry, right, covering LeBron James. I think as long as LeBron James is in the league, I think that will last, right? Which he's close, way closer to the end than he is the beginning or the middle. So I think once LeBron James leave the league, these guys they may not take they don't have any more incentive to to cover up for LeBron James. So I think a lot of that is going to fade out, as people covering for LeBron James. But let me see what Richard Jefferson had to say about.
Because now the idea of you building your franchise, your first franchise, taking it to the pinnacle became, now we're just trying to chase Jordan for rings.
And he's like, I'm going to teach you some basketball.
All right, so that was Alfonso Ribeiro. I'm gonna try to see if I can find the beginning of this, right? Because all right, here we go. This closer to
In Orlando. Like, this is how desperate these guys are. And he's calling out Alfonso for saying that LeBron James destroyed the NBA and destroyed basketball because of what he's done.
When he made the decision, ruined basketball. Because now the idea of you building your franchise, your first franchise, taking it to the pinnacle became, now we're just trying to chase Jordan for rings.
And he's like, I'm going to teach you.
All right, so now let me just explain like why that is so important, that a franchise player like LeBron James, like Michael Jordan, like Magic and Kobe and Bird, like why it's so important for those guys to stay put as long as possible with one franchise, right? Because fans get invested. They get invested in these players, and they are along for the ride, like the peaks and the valleys. And when you, as a fan, go through something like that with your favorite, your favorite basketball player or your team, that makes the bond even stronger, right? And so when LeBron James left Cleveland after 7 years, that hurt their fan base because like they were passionate because LeBron James was a hometown guy, and he ends up with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, man, he could have owned that city if he had played his cards right, win or lose. Like if LeBron James had stayed there and only won 2 rings, he would own, he would just own that city. That fan base would just be so passionate about LeBron James, like Detroit is about Isaiah Thomas, like Boston is about Larry Bird, like LA is about Kobe and Magic, right? But LeBron James missed that opportunity when he left. And so that's what Carlton Banks is referring to. He's looking at it from a fan standpoint, not and that's how Richard Jefferson and Shannon Fry missed the point, because you criticize them for that, but the fans, your fan base, LeBron James will need to tap into that fan base once his career is over with. That gives you leverage. The fan base, not only do they give you leverage, but they protect your legacy, right? Look at how passionate fans are about Kobe. Look at how passionate fans are about Bird and Magic. Like they will carry the legacy of those players on. Like the fan base will do that, or carry that into the next generation. And Richard Jefferson just don't get it.
Basketball. I'm going to teach you. Bullshit. You don't know basketball. You just know what LeBron tell you to know.
I got crucified for this question already. Has Steph ruined the game? Because I also was asked this, and I said the person that ruined all of this was Bron, because I felt like Bron's stance, and it's like Mike. If Mike would have made it okay for y'all to just be like, yeah, I'm leaving this team and I'm going to another, because I don't like what the owners are saying. If Mike would have did that, there would have been no loyalty, because we all, quote unquote, wanted to be like Mike, right? And I felt like, even though Steph was good, I felt like Bron was the guy that did it, because I feel like when Bron made it okay for people to team up, it stopped making the star player have to come back with something added to their game.
That is very important. That was Iman Shumpert, right? That's so important. I remember hearing Larry Bird say that every year he came back with something new to his game. So the Larry Bird you seen in '87 wasn't going to be the same Larry Bird you seen in '88. He was going to have something new to his game. You studying film and you watching his moves and stuff like that. Now Larry Bird has elevated his game even more, and that's what those basketball players did, and that's what the league made you do, right? The competition in the league made you elevate your game every year. And so if LeBron James needed to develop a low post move and he chose not to do that, but to team up with Chris Bosh, then not only he's cheating the game, but he's cheating himself. He's cheating himself because now, like you don't get to celebrate, you don't get to have that type of celebration and that feeling of, yeah, I really am unstoppable. You can't stop me. But now, he go team up with somebody else who already has a low post game and he don't have to develop. And so that's something important that was brought up by Iman Shumpert.
Alfonso didn't play in the NBA. I get it, Richard Jefferson. I get it. You're the authority on the NBA, right? But Iman Shumpert played in the NBA. Iman Shumpert played in the NBA, and he also played with LeBron James just like you did. And yet he seems to say the same exact thing. LeBron James ruined basketball. You want to teach him some basketball too? Let's teach some basketball to Richard Jefferson after you watch his comments. Okay? So here is Richard Jefferson with his dumbass comments.
Michael Cooper, Byron Scott, they're my guy. They're on his podcast. They had my guy Alfonso, a.k.a. Carlton Banks, on the podcast, talking about how LeBron changed it. And he gave this whole narrative about how Michael Jordan and how all the stories. Alfonso, I'm talking directly to you. You're my guy. We had some great times, man. NSYNC charity game back in the early 2000s, fun, but I'm going to teach you some basketball.
Right before he started, I just have to say, this is so damn disrespectful, what he just said. But let's go.
People forget that Shaq left Penny, left Orlando, and went to L.A. Oh, you're going to leave the small market to go to the big market?
So hold on a second. Richard Jefferson trying to say that Orlando, Florida, Miami, all these, all that whole state in Orlando, that's a small market. That's one of the biggest markets in the NBA. It's not a small market. It's not as big as LA, but it's not that small that he's trying to make it look like. Also, the Orlando Magic gave a offer to Shaquille O'Neal as a contract of $95 million. Then they upped it to $115, but the Lakers still beat them out at $121 million. So Shaquille O'Neal didn't team up with anybody. He just figured, shoot, let me go to LA and get more money. That's why he went there. He was still young. He went to get more money. Simple as that.
And then all of a sudden, then Phil Jackson magically appears. Phil Jackson jumped ship and was like, you know what? I'm going to jump over here because I see these studs. So now they win 3 championships.
Talk about teaching people some basketball. Maybe we'll teach you about some basketball. Phil Jackson was without a job. He was fishing. The Lakers actually reached out to Phil Jackson, and they went after him aggressively. In the beginning, he didn't even want to join the team. They got him. They paid him. Jerry West negotiated with his agent himself, and he got Phil Jackson in there. Phil Jackson didn't ask him for that. Phil Jackson didn't ask the Lakers to hire him. And Phil Jackson, he didn't jump ship to nobody because he didn't have a job at the point. So come on, man. Who's teaching who basketball? You're changing.
And even, and like I said, the whole point of it is LeBron James cheated himself. And I always tell people that LeBron James never, as great a basketball player as he was, he never really maxed out his talents. He never developed a low post game. His ball handling, was is suspect. He's not a great ball handler. He just never maxed out his talents or never really reached his highest potential and the reason he didn't do that is because he moved when things got, he wasn't happy with the situation. He just rolled out and moved on to another team and picked, the best players he could to help him get to where he was trying to go. And Richard Jefferson, he's not looking at it from a fan's standpoint. I don't care if Phil Jackson recruited Shaquille O'Neal, that situation. The thing is, we're talking about LeBron James. So why would you bring up what Shaquille O'Neal did, or Grant Hill, or any other player during that time, or coach during that time, when we talking about LeBron James and the impact of LeBron James? It was okay because Shaquille O'Neal did it. I don't know. Like I said, from a fan standpoint, I think is when you see a player like LeBron James develop and max out his talents, and he's loyal to one town, I just think it's better for the game. I just think it's better for the game. And fans were not used to seeing somebody like LeBron James do what he did, and he didn't get any better. So, that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'm going to check you all out in the next video. Peace.